Let's talk about LinkedIn. Hey there, I'm Mark Scott, and thanks for checking out another voiceover tip. Every week I do my best to offer you actionable, practical advice that you can put to work from the business and marketing side of voiceover. That's what these tips are all about. If you never want to miss one of these tips, subscribe to the YouTube channel. That way you are always going to get notified every time a new tip goes up. I try to post one every single week, so make sure that you subscribe. And hey, while you're at it, why don't you tell one of your friends? So this week I want to talk to you about LinkedIn, and I want to address a question that comes up a lot in private coaching sessions that I do with voice actors, and it has to do with LinkedIn analytics and try to figure out how to grow organic reach. That's the challenge for every social media platform, really, isn't it? So first, let's define organic reach. Every single one of the platforms, whether it's LinkedIn, Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, you name it, every one of them works off of algorithms that generate organic reach. Now, in LinkedIn's particular case, what we have learned is that initially you will probably get about 5 to 10% organic reach. So what does that mean? Let's make the math really simple and say that you have a LinkedIn network that has 100 people in it. That means initially, when you put up a post on LinkedIn, about 5 to 10 people are going to see that post. Now, there are ways that you can generate engagement, which is ultimately going to drive up the organic reach. But initially, you're going to see about 5 to 10 people who will see that post. And this is where a lot of voice actors get discouraged because it feels like social media is a big waste of time. I'm creating all this content and nobody is actually seeing it, so why even bother? Well, I don't think that's the right approach. I think there are actual strategies that you can put into play to grow your organic reach. I would so much rather see you grow your organic reach than just give up on a social media platform altogether. So with that in mind and a clear understanding of organic reach, let's talk about a few different things that you can do to increase yours. First and foremost is obviously growing the size of your network. This is a big one. You want more organic reach up front, you've got to have a bigger network up front. Going back to the example that I gave a few minutes ago, if you've got 100 people in your network and only 5 to 10 people are going to see that post initially and you want to make that number higher, you got to get more people in your network. So let's make a goal to get that to 250 and then to 500 and maybe to 1,000. Then maybe to 1,500, then to 2,500, then to 5,000. You have to have a strategy that you're working on every day of the week so that by the end of the week, you've got more people in your network. If you're not growing your network, it's going to be really hard to grow your organic reach. Now, with that said, there is one other thing that I want you to take into consideration here. If you've got 100 people in your network, that is to say if you have a small network, but you can look and you can see that you're getting 5 or 10 or maybe 15% organic reach on all of your posts, then that's not necessarily a bad thing. Where we could have a problem is you have a large network and you're seeing a very small number of people who are seeing those posts. That's the symptom of a greater problem. So rule number 1 here is we've got to grow our network. We've got to have a plan in place to grow that network, get more people so we can get more eyes, right? But rule number 2 is providing valuable content. So you have a large network on the platform, but hardly anybody seems to be seeing your posts. Maybe one of the reasons why is because of the content that you're sharing. If you're going on LinkedIn and all you're ever doing is saying, here's my demos, do you need me for a voiceover? Or here's a project that I worked on. You're basically going on and saying, hey, look at me in this thing that I do, or hey, look at me in this thing that I did. And that is not really interesting or relevant to probably a big part of your network. You need to find ways to create content that they actually want to consume, right? That's a big part of the challenge. Finding ways to add value to your network by giving them content that is interesting, that is relevant, that adds value, that makes them want to keep checking out what you have to say and what you have to offer. So you have to be very strategic in the content that you are choosing. There's nothing worse than creating a video, like I'm doing right now, writing a blog, doing a podcast interview and releasing the episode, going on Canva, creating the perfect social media graphic, putting it up on your feed, and then nobody sees it. But if the reason why nobody is seeing is it because it's the subject matter, maybe it's not relevant to them or it doesn't add value to them, that can explain a big part of the problem. So you have to figure out who's in your network. So for a lot of voice actors, if you're building your network strategically, you should have a lot of your leads, your prospects, and your clients in your network. So these are people who use voiceover services, of course. So an element of voiceover content would certainly be relevant, but that's not who they are and what they do. That's who you are and what you do. You need to think about who they are, what they do, and what adds value to them. Are they small business owners? Yes. Are they in advertising? Yes. Are they in video marketing? Yes. Are they creating e-learning courses? Yes. Right? Again, depending on the type of network that you're in. So you need to think about, how do I create and share content that speaks to my audience? Because if you are consistently adding value by sharing really great content, then that is ultimately going to drive those organic reach numbers higher and higher and higher and higher and higher. The second part of this, pay attention to the content that you're sharing so that you can pay attention to what the data is revealing to you. So let's talk about the type of post. When you share a video, when you share a blog, when you share a podcast, when you share a graphic, when you share just a text status update, do you consistently see that certain types generate higher engagement or higher views than others? That can be very telling. The other thing you have to pay attention to is the subject matter. Are you sharing about sales or marketing or entrepreneurship or life in general? Or are the posts that you're sharing funny? Or the posts that you're sharing trending? Or the posts that you're sharing newsworthy? Again, the data is going to tell a story. So if you can figure out that every time you share a video on a particular type of subject, it gets more reach, that should give you an indication of the kind of content that your audience enjoys, the kind of content that your audience is engaging with. So, logic and reason say, post more of that content. There's an art to this, and there's effort that needs to be put in order to make it work. But if you can start to identify the type of content that truly speaks to your audience, you're absolutely going to be able to drive up your organic reach. So that's number 2. Make sure that the content is relevant and adds value to your network. The third thing that I think that you can do to grow your organic reach is give them a call to action. We need engagement, right? Now, engagement can look like a lot of different things. On a video, engagement is somebody taking the time to watch the video. On a blog or an article, it would be somebody clicking through to read the blog or the article. On a podcast, obviously, somebody listening to the podcast. Within the LinkedIn platform itself, there's the reactions. You know, those little icons that appear below your post with the thumbs up. You know, they can like it, or they can celebrate it, or they can say that it's insightful. They can love it. Those are reactions. Obviously, those are a form of engagement. Comments, another form of engagement. And then even better, if somebody shares your post, that is another form of engagement. So we need to be looking for ways to get people to watch our videos, listen to our podcasts, click through to our links, react, comment, and share. These are all the different things that are going to create engagement. And if you can do that, again, you're going to start to see the organic reach driving higher and higher and higher. LinkedIn is algorithm driven, just like any other social platform. The algorithm can see when people are engaging with a particular post, and it's going to put that in front of more people because it assumes that more people are going to be interested in it. That's why I have had instances in the past where I have a few thousand people in my network, but I've had posts that have ultimately generated tens of thousands of views because LinkedIn grabs hold of it. The algorithm takes it. It sees that people are engaging and people are enjoying, and it pushes it out to more and more and more people. So how do you generate engagement from a post? The easiest way is to ask. Here's a really great example. Let's say that you find an article that is 5 productivity hacks for the parent working from home. Now, you could go on LinkedIn and you could say, hey, I came across this really cool article. I've been working from home for a long time, and I think these tips will be really helpful. Here's 5 productivity hacks for the parent working from home. That's one way to share it. And that's a way that a lot of people share. But what if you wrote it this way instead? I've been working from home for a very long time, and I've learned a lot of different productivity hacks over the years. Here's a really cool article that offers 5 productivity hacks for the parent working from home. I particularly resonated with number 3, but I would love to hear which one of these productivity hacks spoke to you. Now you've given them a reason to engage because you've asked them a question. You didn't simply share the content, you gave them a reason to engage with the content. So, can you ask for a reaction? Can you ask a question? Can you make a statement that is thought-provoking that could generate conversation? Do you ask them for the share? If you can put some kind of a call to action in each one of your posts, that can help to increase the engagement. And when you increase the engagement, you are ultimately increasing the organic reach. That is the goal of all of this. So to quickly recap, first and foremost, we need to grow the size of our network. This is key. You've got to have more people. You've got to have a strategy to get more people. You should be working on adding more people every single week. Number two, make sure that the content that you're sharing is relevant to your audience and adds value to your audience. And number three, if you want to generate engagement, let them know. Give them a reason to engage, whether it's asking a question or giving some kind of specific call to action. One other thing that I want to point out in the midst of all of this, we want all of our posts to go viral, right? We want thousands of people to see everything that we share. All of us feel that way about social media, but we all know that that's not necessarily realistic. I want to encourage you to think about one thing so that you don't get so focused on the numbers that you get discouraged by the analytics. Do you need 1,000 random strangers to see and engage with your content? Or do you need a handful of potential voiceover leads and prospects to engage with your content to make it worthwhile? Because I don't know about you, but I'd rather get a few bookings out of it. And if I only need to get a few strategic people to engage, I don't need to see tens of thousands of views if I can ultimately get a couple of those people strategically to engage and maybe give me an audition, add me to a roster, hire me for a voiceover project. So all that is to say, don't get so caught up in the numbers that it can discourage you from even trying in the first place. We don't need huge audiences. We need strategic, targeted, niche audiences. So think about that when you're creating content for social media as well. But if you're putting out good content and giving people a reason to engage, I guarantee you your views are going to go higher, your engagement is going to go higher, and your opportunities are going to increase as a result.